What is up, my friends? How are we? You are very welcome along to Thursday night's late night agenda, where, as always, we're going to take you through the latest Liverpool news. As always, asking you for your opinion as well. Can I say as always a few more times? Probably, but there you go. Ladies and gents, pleasure. I thought I was seeing things in the chat, but then I see, no, you weren't. Somebody was actually sharing a recipe in there for a good, cheap, wholesome meal. Fair play. I like it. Well played. Looking out for each other. Nothing wrong with it. So look, ladies and gents, loads to get through. I think this super chat came in before we just went live, so I want to bring it up and say thank you to Paul Smith for that one. Appreciate you, Paul. Thank you. There's a lot to get through tonight. So there's some breaking stories coming out around Darwin's future, with a couple of Spanish clubs being mentioned. We're going to take you through some interest in Club Bruges' left back, but not from Liverpool. We're going to be asking about the Alexander Isak story as well, because genuinely there's been lots of encouragement around this story and the idea of Liverpool actually ponying up the money it would take to get Isak. So yeah, loads to go through tonight. I'm going to take you through some other stories around Manchester City as well, because Javier Tebas, the president of La Liga, has been, well, he's been calling them out and opening another case against them, this time with the European courts. So we'll go through all of that. We'll ask you how comfortable you are with me saying we're going to win the league, because we are going to win the league. Don't be scared of it. And we're going to figure out when that might be as well. So yeah, look, loads to get through. Jay Muse said RIP Gene Hackman, wife and family dog. Yes, I'd seen that late yesterday, mate, or early today. Didn't realise he was 95 as well, but there you go, Gene Hackman. Yes, may he rest in peace. No, I'm not on mute. Just, at least I hope I'm not on mute. I hope everybody can hear me. Just give me a thumbs up to let me know that you can. Craig, hope you and the family are well. Can I ask, when would Liverpool be parading the Premier League trophy? Well, that I cannot say 100% for certain, but cool, we can hear you. Nice one. So what I would say is it won't be given to Liverpool until the final home game of the season. So when Liverpool parade it, you would imagine probably the next day on the Monday. But again, that may depend on Champions League progress. So as an example, if Liverpool make their way to the Champions League final, then they're going to want to hold off, right? So you probably won't get it done on the Monday, which would be May 26th. It will probably be pushed to the following Monday or Sunday, depending on the Champions League progress. So yeah, I wouldn't be booking it just yet for your trip over if you're going. Where in the background are you going to put our second Premier League? Do you know what? I haven't given it any thought, but I'm going to have to, because you're right. I'm going to have to find somewhere to put it. Good problem to have though, right? Good problem to have. So look, what do we want to start off with tonight? Do we want to go for the Isak stuff straight away, or do we want to chat for a few minutes and let it fill up a little bit? Dave said, Craig, bought tickets, looking forward to bringing my daughter with me, who's a big fan. Want a photo, please? My pleasure. We always make time at the end of all the live shows for photos, mate. So absolutely my pleasure. And thank you for getting your tickets. I've been genuinely surprised at how quickly people have been jumping on the tickets. And I can't wait to come and chat with you all. So appreciate you. So look, we are going to go through Isak, of course. We'll go through that in a moment. But before we do, this is the last sponsored stream of the month. So I've got to play the quick Surfshark ad. And then I will be back and we'll go straight through for the next 90 minutes or so. But as I always say, we wouldn't be here without our incredible sponsors. So give me 83 quick seconds and I will be back and we'll get straight into Isak, I promise. This video is sponsored by Surfshark, the best VPN on the market. Surfshark is an app or browser extension that allows you to change your location to access websites in other countries and keep you safe and secure from hackers. Using Surfshark, we here in Ireland can access other countries' Netflix libraries or other streaming platforms like DAZN in Spain for all those important Premier League games. Surfshark keeps you safe and private by protecting everything you do online. Everything. When your device connects to the internet, all that information is, in a way, blurred out. Surfshark is particularly useful for keeping you safe from being hacked if you use public Wi-Fi. Let's say you're in a cafe, you're at college, you're out and about, they've got you covered. Surfshark allows you to use one subscription on unlimited devices, meaning you can share your account with friends or family or that neighbour who's a little bit cheap. On top of all of this, Surfshark offers a 30-day money-back guarantee. You can also upgrade to Surfshark 1, which includes the VPN, an alert system for breaches related to your data, such as emails and credit cards, and an antivirus software for your desktop. Our sign-up offer gives you Surfshark VPN for a little over €2 a month. Simply scan the... Right, my friends, we are back, and as promised, we're going to dive straight into the Alexander Isak stuff. So, over the past week or so, when these stories started to come out around Isak, I'll be honest with you, I didn't even bother starting to ask questions from journalists or to look into it more, because I thought it wasn't possible. That's my honest view from the start when these stories started coming out. I just thought there's no way that Liverpool are going to pay anywhere near £150 million for Alexander Isak. So I let a couple of days go by, and then I start to see more and more stories creep out. Stories such as Alexander Isak interested in joining Liverpool because he wants consistent Champions League football and to win trophies, which is almost guaranteed. Then you start to see more and more stuff come out. Then I researched it and I start asking. And all I can say to you is, there is genuine belief that if Newcastle are a willing seller and that they don't find themselves in the Champions League, that Liverpool will be there. And you even seen Ian Wright coming out to say today he thinks Isak would pick Liverpool over Arsenal. And I can't blame him, because it would be a better fit for him. But what I can say to you right now is, to the best of my knowledge, he is a genuine top target. Now, I cannot tell you if we buy him. I can't. But I can tell you he's open to the move, and Liverpool are very much looking into it. Now, of course, you're going to have to sell Darwin Nunez to fund some of this. And we'll talk about Darwin Nunez tonight as well, because there's been 2 links to clubs in Spain, as well as the stuff, of course, coming from Saudi. So we'll go through all of that. Now, the big question here for everyone is Alexander Isak worth £150 million? And do we think that Liverpool will pay it? So that's the first question that I'm going to ask in tonight's poll, because I can promise you it's a sincere interest in him. But your guess is as good as mine as to whether that interest will see itself in a bid. So let's see what you think on the valuation. Right, on we go. So I'm going to keep it simple, and I'm going to just say, is he worth £150 million, yes or no? Because I'll be honest with you, for me, no. I don't think he's worth £150 million. Not with the injury headache hanging over you, or the injury concern hanging over you. If he was bulletproof, and he was playing every single week for Newcastle, and we were seeing no signs of injuries, I would say yes. Quality-wise, he could be up there with one of the top 3 strikers in the world. But the injuries would be a concern for me, and that would have to be reflected, for me, in the valuation. I don't know what his contract situation is at Newcastle off the top of my head. But like I told you, Newcastle have been holding meetings this week to plan out the future there in every eventuality, including Champions League football, no Champions League football. If you look at the table at the minute, it's wide open. 5 places got to get you Champions League football this year. So we're going to have to wait and see if Newcastle can get in that top 4 or not. But if they are top 5, excuse me, if they don't, then it's Liverpool and Arsenal. They're going to be coming knocking. My friend Mark Gratorex and myself are Liverpool supporters. We think you're great. Liverpool are doing well. Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate you. And thank you to you and your friend for your support. Appreciate that. Stevie Boy said, FSG spending more spin with Isak story. Same owners who were lowballing our own are the owners who were going to sanction 150 mil. No chance. So the reason, Stevie Boy, that I'm making sure I highlight all of these stories is because then in the summer, we can bring them back up and say, well, this was said, and this was said. And I have a folder with all of these stories in it, and we're going to go back over them and make sure that those who said it's possible are held to account if it isn't. Now, you do have to ask yourself on the valuation stuff, though. You know, let's see what this £150 million valuation is. For me, it's too much. I'd be much more comfortable about 40% cheaper than that. Newcastle will want to make a profit if they sell him, and they pay, I think, 66 or 67 million. Matt said, hey Craig, missed the last few streams, but up the effing Reds. Already planning my Premier League Championship tattoo. Much love to you. Best Liverpool voice. Thank you, my man. Yesterday was incredible. You know, what a night it was again for Arsenal to choke once again and draw blank at the City Ground, and for us to go and get the result against Newcastle, keeping a clean sheet and playing as well as we did, it was brilliant. I'd go 90 million with add-ons if he stays fit, so Gareth Shaw. 150 million is too much though. So the reason that I bring up the figure so much and ask you, do you think it's worth it, is because there will absolutely be a knock-on effect if Isak is bought. So let's look at left back. At left back, you're thinking Kirkes, but he's going to be upwards of £50 million. So if we're looking to put money in for Isak, then you're probably going to have to look at other left backs. Probably, as we've mentioned, Hato, who would be a significant amount cheaper, about £16 million cheaper. And that's before you start to look at the centre-back situation. So I've got to say, as much as I want Isak, I'd be voting no on the valuation, because I don't think he's worth £150 million. I just don't see it. Not with the injury concerns. Ain't it funny that Arsenal are closer to 10th place than they are to Liverpool? Yes, it is funny, but it's also embarrassing hearing them their fans still trying to spin everything to make it sound like they were shafted. Do you know what though? I've really enjoyed seeing Liverpool fans pushing back on social media, saying, well, the reason that Saka is injured is because your manager was unnecessarily playing him, bringing him on for 30 minutes in FA Cup games that were already won and running him into the ground. So, yeah, I don't remember any of the Arsenal fans having sympathy for us last season when our season started to fall apart with injuries. We were called bottlers, remember? So when Arsenal have injuries, though, everything has to be rewritten, apparently. The rules have to change and, you know, they should get the should-have-won trophy. My question would be, would Isak be our only signing of the window? Because spending 150 million then more on players sounds insane. Well, look, the headline figure, let's say, of 150 million would obviously be dependent on what money we brought in. So I would say if we brought in 60, just throwing that number out there for Darwin, then I can see a world where Liverpool maybe offer up to 120 million with add-ons for Isak. But I can't see us getting near the 150 in any scenario. Because there just isn't value there. And that's one thing that our ownership will look at. You know, they have to find value in a deal. So I agree with you. I get where you're coming from. It's a lot of money. And you could look at others like Cunha as an example, where you could nearly buy Cunha off the money you get for Darwin. Or at least fairly close to it. So yeah, I guess the question's going to come with what's the importance on each position and how much money are we going to have available to it. And if I said to you guys right now, name me the top 3 positions that you think Liverpool need to address in the summer, I would say striker is probably third for most people, but maybe I'm wrong. For me, I'd be looking centre-back, left-back, and then a striker. But we don't know if we need a right-back yet either, because we're going to be talking about Trent tonight, of course, but you know, David Ornstein at this point even admitting that inside the journalistic world, it looks like they feel Trent's gone. You know, there's still not much positivity around that situation. Mark Bell said Kirkes is a must signing in the summer. Again, you have to look at the money. So, I don't think many people would argue that Kirkes would be a great fit. But he's going to be minimum £50 million. Maybe more. And also, I believe that Richard Hughes had very little input into the deal to bring him to Bournemouth. So it's not like there's this fantastic relationship. To the best of my understanding, it was more Iriola that was involved in pushing that deal to bring Kirkes to Bournemouth. So I don't even know how much sway there Richard Hughes would have in that regard. So once we do this poll, I'm going to ask you about 3 strikers that I want to know if you agree with me are the 3 we should be targeting. And those 3 strikers for me are Isak, Cunha and Sesko. They're the 3 that would be my 1, 2, 3 on my list of dream centre-forward signings. I'm unsure about Jonathan David, far too unsure to take a gamble on him. Gyökeres, again, age profile-wise, league he's coming from, not going to happen. And then you're looking around the world thinking, well, who else is there, really? I think one of those 3... Ekitike is an option, yeah, Ekitike is an option. But is it a suitable option? You know, he went for about 16 million quid to Frankfurt, I think, from PSG. I don't know if he's... I don't know if he's at our level. I just don't know. I'd be unsure on that one. And that's because of my own ignorance, though, more than anything. Isak's deal is up until 2028. There you go. Thank you, Mark, for that one. So Isak's deal runs till 2028. Kirkes, also a United fan growing up. Apparently, it's not so much him, that it's his father. That's the very strong United fan. To the best of my understanding. Now, I'm not saying Kirkes isn't, but certainly his father would be the one I'm aware of being the United fan in his family. Lautaro Martinez of Inter. Nothing about him strikes me as working in the Premier League or with Liverpool. Nothing. I think I'd be steered clear of Serie A for any forwards. It just doesn't work out coming to England most of the time. It's interesting, Ellis, that you brought up the lap, because I have a story on the lap, one sec, that I was going to put in my late night roundup. But a report today from transfers.com say Chelsea will do whatever it takes to sign Liam Delap from Ipswich this summer. So it looks like Chelsea be the ones making the play there. What about Victor Boniface? Not seen or heard any links from Liverpool, credible ones. Not spoken to anybody who's brought his name up to me. But then again, that doesn't mean anything other than I haven't heard about it. Marcus Thuram's not good enough to come to Liverpool. Remember, this is going to have to be the centre forward that is undeniable, because we've already rolled the dice, and Liverpool don't seem to be wanting to go out there again and have any doubts about the calibre of forward they bring in. You know, so I would almost... I'd almost go as far as to say I'd be 90% it's probably Cunha or Isak, because of Premier League proven age profile. With Cunha, of course, you've got the release clause as well in his contract. I just think it's one of those two for me. João Pedro, do you think he's good enough? Really? Like, he's had some injury concerns, and I've kept track of him because I remember when he was bought in to Brighton, I thought, interesting move this. So I kept track of him, and I'm not convinced of João Pedro. I just amn't. I just think he's too inconsistent for me. But again, it's not my opinion that matters, is it? It's Arne Slot's. So the names that I've been hearing when I've been speaking to people, I've never heard about Osimhen, never heard about Boniface, never heard about Guirassy. Gyökeres, I will repeat this till I'm blue in the face. There was more chance of me showing up here tomorrow with hair like Ruud Gullit and a six-pack like Mohamed Salah than there is of Liverpool signing Victor Gyökeres. It 100,000,000% is not going to happen. Right, so we're nearly at 1,000 votes. So then I'm going to ask you 3 strikers' names. Give me a fourth, actually. I want one more name. Isak, Cunha, Sesko. I need one more name for striker, because I've got so much news to get through. I want to make sure I don't leave you guys hanging tonight. I want to have a look at our next 5 fixtures versus Arsenal's as well, because I want to talk about when we could potentially get this league title wrapped up. So I only need 40 more votes and then we can finish this one. Mbuemo's not a striker, so there's no point in throwing in wide players' names. Semenyo's not a striker. Adeyemi, I've not heard much on him in recent times. He was close to a move, wasn't he, to Italy, I think, in the winter market, but stayed in the end. I think Ekitike is probably... Do you want me to go Ekitike or João Pedro? Which one for the last one? Ekitike or João Pedro? So 71% of people have said that they don't think that Isak is valued at £150 million. And I would agree. I'm right there with you. As much as I'd love him at Liverpool, I just don't see him being worth £150 million. When Liverpool play the next game, they'll need to concentrate and keep focus from Mark and Torchwood. Of course we will. But we're playing, well, our next game in ever is PSG. That's going to be tough. But our next league game should be a gimme. It's against Southampton at home. Osimhen would be terrible at Liverpool. You know, there's a lot of people who just thrown in names that they think are hipster names. They're just not good enough. There's a reason that Osimhen is a Galatasaray on loan. He's not good enough. Do you know what? I see somebody mention Kluivert. I was only thinking about him last night myself. He scored another worldie in Bournemouth's game on Tuesday, I think it was, against Brighton in that 2-1 loss. Scored another worldie. I wonder will we see him move somewhere. I don't know how old he is either, Kluivert. He feels like he's been around for a few years, but... Okay, so... I do love a good poll. 1 second. Okay. Who's the option? Yeah, Mbappe. Yeah, I think we can safely say Mbappe ain't happening. How do you spell João? Is it Joao or Jao? How do you spell João, part of João Pedro? I'm trying to find his name here in the chat. Where is he? Where is he? Pedro. People just writing in Pedro. I need the João part spell, lads. There we are. No, that's not right. Joao. It is that way. Yeah, okay, cool. Right, so there's 4 names. Crack on. Right, there you go. Pick now. The reason I've asked it is pick the most realistic. The most realistic. So the one you think will come through the door. Not the one that you want. The one that you think is the most realistic for Liverpool to sign. What about Vlahovic or Openda? The last I heard about Openda to Liverpool was at least a year ago. But again, that means nothing. That just means I haven't been in the loop on that. Didn't Edwards want Nkunku but got Nunez instead? Edwards wasn't involved in the Darwin Nunez deal. Edwards wasn't at Liverpool in that situation. It was George Schmadtke and Jurgen Klopp that made the decision along with Barry Hunter, Dave Fallows and the other recruitment team when we signed Darwin Nunez. So it wasn't it was nothing to do with Edwards. Do you think it is possible the Isak fee be a bit lower? Yes. Look, if we sign Isak, it won't be for £150 million. I think Liverpool would be looking to do something 100 to 120 max, I would say. But it might be interesting to see if there's a deal for Joe Gomez to be done as part of that in the summer. Because I feel he'll look for a move away. Newcastle may look for another defender. So maybe there's a part exchange to be had there or something. I don't know. I know they tried to do it for Jarell Kwanzaa with Anthony Gordon last summer. But Newcastle aren't going to make this easy for anyone. And I think it is going to take them to be out of the Champions League for Isak to look for that move away. Would I swap Salah for Isak? No. At this moment in time, there's no swapping Salah for anybody in my mind. 2 years to go minimum with him at the top. But we need to get that sorted. So, really quickly, while people are voting away on that, and I have a load of news to get through, I thought we could have a look at the next 5 fixtures for Liverpool and Arsenal. And I want to start off with Arsenal's next 5 fixtures because I think this could sort the league title out before... I was looking through a few scenarios earlier on. It could be Chelsea when we win the league title. But let's have a look at their next 5 games, Arsenal. So Premier League wise, March the 9th, they have Manchester United away at 4:30. Now we'll have played Southampton the day before. So there's every chance that we'll be 16 points clear before Arsenal next kick of football. They'd have 2 games in hand, but... So they've got Man United away, 4:30 on March 9th. Then they have Chelsea at home at the Emirates on March the 16th, 1:30. April the 1st, they've got Fulham at home. Then they have Everton away and Brentford at home. That to me is a tricky run of fixtures where I can see at least 4 drop points from that personally, maybe more. For Liverpool though, well, our next 5 fixtures look a bit less daunting. Starts off March 8th, Southampton at home at Anfield, 3 p.m. kickoff. Then Everton at Anfield, 8 p.m. kickoff. Even under David Moyes, I still think we're beating Everton because the players will want to put right the result at Goodison. Then we have Fulham away, which is never an easy game, but I would always back us to get a result there. Fulham away on April the 5th. April the 12th, West Ham at home. And then April the 19th, Leicester City away. I'm not trying to be arrogant when I say there's every chance Liverpool can return 15 points from those 5 games. 13 points would be a minimum that I would expect from those games. So I think the gap's going to grow over the next few games on us and Arsenal. Genuinely, I'm not trying to say that to be the arrogant Liverpool fan. I think the gap will grow because United are under incredible pressure to get results and they've got Arsenal coming. They've already got Arsenal knocked out of the FA Cup. So I think United could get a draw. And then, as I mentioned, they've got Chelsea coming up as well. It's not going to be easy. And they've got no forwards. So I think we're going to see the gap increase between now and the end of those 5 games. And then it's party time. Watkins is too old for people asking about Ollie Watkins. He's too old. What do I think about Lookman? Again, it feels to me like he's one of those players who's found a league that suits him. You know, he's bounced around a couple of Premier League clubs, Everton, and I can't remember the other one. Didn't work. And he's, what is he now, 27? Ademola Lookman? Just, we don't need him. If we're looking for a wide forward on the left side, I think there's way better options out there than Ademola Lookman. Adam, I did miss your super chat, my man. My apologies. Let me just go back through a couple of these. I think I've missed a few, to be honest with you. So Adam said, is Odegaard able to come to Anfield and take photos of us holding up the trophy, seeing as he likes photos? I'm sure we could make that happen, Adam. I'm sure we could make that happen, my man. Adam Roach has said, Sesko is the perfect middle ground, cheaper than Isak, more Champions League prowess than somebody like David. Sesko is a name that I would have on my list. I agree with you, Adam. I think Sesko and Cunha, along with Isak, would be my 3 names. If I was to throw down them on a table to Liverpool to say they're the ones that I'd be looking at. And Sesko will move, I think, in the summer. He wanted one more season. Arsenal tried to sign him. So that may be their forward, because they've put in a bit of groundwork there. I want to just make sure I haven't missed any more. Done that one, done that one, done that one. Cool. If I've missed any other super chats or anything, let me know. I think I've caught up with them all. Have you heard of a young striker named Jamie Vardy? I'll tell you what. Ipswich's striker, or what's his face again? Delap. He reminds me a bit of Vardy. Would you sign Haaland for 120 million? Do you know what? I just don't like Haaland. Just as a fella, I don't like him. So I genuinely wouldn't be arsed with him at Liverpool. Just, yeah. I don't think he'd put in the work rate needed at Liverpool either. So, as mad as this sounds, no, I don't want him and I wouldn't have any interest. Jonathan David could be. He'd just be FSG's cheap option because he's on a potential free. He's not good enough. He just isn't good enough. What's this one? What's this story? Premier League raises the stakes in war with Footballers Union. Let me have a quick read of this story. 1 second. Sorry, I'm just trying to fly through this story really quickly. Premier League clubs significantly up there. PFA trigger serious ruptures between players and clubs. Earlier this month, threatened competition with legal action. The PFA believes it can veto the anchoring the squad rules. Look, there's too many fights going on between the Premier League and its clubs and its players and the clubs, and somebody needs to look out for the welfare of the players. So I have no qualms whatsoever about less games being played. Sorry, too many tabs open. What about Liam Delap of Ipswich? Again, the only thing I've seen recently is that Chelsea are going to try and make a move for him. But Delap would be an interesting one. I just don't know if it would be too much of a roll of the dice. Because remember, this summer is supposed to be the summer where we bring in the next Virgils, the next Allisons. Not in the same positions, but that's the plan. Is to make sure we go out there and bring in 3 top-notch, quality, undeniable players that are at Liverpool for the next 5-6 years. At least that's what I'm getting. That's what I'm being told. That's what I'm seeing written. That it won't be cheap and cheerful options. It will be standard bearers who are, as Arne Slot said, you've got to be good enough to come and play for this club. And there aren't that many players in world football that are out there and that are good enough to come in and improve what we have. There are players, but, you know, the likes of Ademola Lookman isn't that guy. And I would suggest probably João Pedro ain't that guy either. It's a huge summer. It really is a huge summer. Because if we get this right, no matter what anybody else does, City, Arsenal, it can put us right there challenging. I'm not going to be as arrogant as to say it can make Liverpool win everything for the next few years, but get this summer right and get the contracts renewed, and it really is sexy time at that point. Finally got my heating fixed today as well, by the way, which is great. No heating for the last week. I read a story earlier on today about interest in that left back that I've been speaking quite a bit about from Club Brugge, Maxime de Kuiper, but not from Liverpool. Tutto Sport over in Italy have said that Arsenal are expected to go head-to-head with AC Milan for the signing of Club Brugge left back Maxime de Kuiper this summer. He's going to be a quality player. I've been banging his name about for a while. He would be on my left back target list if I was Liverpool, along with Hato, along with Kirkes. What about right back, left back? We'll come on to that in a moment, Brian, my man. Don't worry, I got you. Paul, good evening, Craig. Which players do you see leaving? Darwin. Okay, I'm going to go through this list as best as I can. Kelleher, Darwin, Trent, unfortunately. Costas, Morton. I hope not Elliott, but I wouldn't rule it out. Gomez, I wouldn't rule out either if Joe wants to move. And then you're into names that might be dependent on the offers. So Luis Diaz, as an example. I wouldn't want Lucho to go. You know, I think Lucho's in great form at the minute. But I wouldn't want him to go unless it was a move that Liverpool felt worked financially and had a player in mind that we could bring in. Because I thought he was sensational against Newcastle. I thought he was absolutely sensational out on that left side again. Chiesa, I don't know what to think of. I don't know what to think about Chiesa. Because it's getting harder and harder to make a case that Arne trusts him or that Arne wanted him. It is. It's, again, another game goes by where nothing. No minutes. Yeah, it's a tough one. And Endo could be another name as well. Like, I would go as far as to say I think there will be more exits this summer than players brought in. But that's okay. Because it's about bringing in the right players that are needed. Like, there are if I wanted to be ruthless, I could go through the squad and probably name you another 6 or 7 that I think should move on. Right, so the list of pick the most realistic for Liverpool to sign We've nearly had the 1,000 votes, and fair play to everyone that answered. I think you're going to be very interested in the results of this. We're nearly there. Sweet, we've got the 1,000 votes now. So, after 1,000 votes, the player that you think from Cunha, Isak, Sesko and João Pedro was the most likely to come through the AXA Training Centre doors is Matheus Cunha of Wolves. And I think I'm with you on that. As much as we'd all love Isak, if Newcastle hold firm on the price, I just don't see the value. But Cunha ticks a lot of boxes and is a name very strongly mentioned amongst Liverpool journalists and circles. Mightn't be the sexiest name in the world, but I tell you what, he's had a good season. And at 60, I don't know if it's 62 or 67 million, I think it would be an astute piece of business. But he wouldn't put up 30 goals a season. But I don't think that would be the expectation of him if he came to Liverpool. Daniel said, "Hey Craig, not sure if it's just me, but I'm not as worried about City in the future. Their old guard is washed and most replacements aren't as good. I just want to know what's happening with their case. Now, hopefully we find out next month what's happening with that 115 or 129 charges. But while we're talking about City, I might as well bring this up now. Read this earlier on from Transfer Sector. They said, breaking, Manchester City have been accused of an Enron-style financial scandal. La Liga chief executive Javier Tebas says he reported the Premier League giants to the European Commission and claims they are investigating the case. Tebas has alleged that Manchester City have spread their losses across and hidden them in a series of related marketing and scouting companies to manipulate their financial fair play figures. Again, all very heavy going stuff, but City, of course, are saying that Javier Tebas has had it in for them for ages, which he has, to be fair, but doesn't mean that there's no merit to it. So, you know, whatever happens with the case between the Premier League and Manchester City, there's more headaches coming. And as I mentioned here, a case now in front of the European Commission from La Liga president around Manchester City and what he believes are Enron-style financial dealings. Now, if you don't know what Enron is, just have a little research of it. It's too difficult for an idiot like me to explain quickly, but it's one of the most famous, if not the most famous, financial scandals in the world, other than maybe Bernie Madoff. $54 million Harry Kane. No. Just no. I don't want Harry Kane at 32 near Liverpool. No thanks. We need somebody 24, 25 max that can be at the club for the next 5-6 years. And I think Spurs also have first refusal on the Harry Kane buyback clause if he does leave Bayern Munich. Some more comments. Good age too, 25. Cunha, said Stephen Pelays. If City get relegated, Marmoush and Gvardiol on a free. It's very interesting to think about the potential punishments for City, because the Premier League has made a rod for its own back with the punishments that they've put in place for other clubs for single charges. You could be looking at multiple point deductions over multiple seasons with Manchester City at this point. And my big fear about all of this has been what I've said from day one, that they drag it out long enough that people's memories go, and they start to think of Manchester City as this established superpower in football. But that's been the plan all along. Delay, and then, you know, some of it becomes time barred from UEFA, as we've seen before, but that isn't the case with the Premier League, nor can Manchester City appeal the ruling to the Court of Arbitration for Sport. I just feel football is at a turning point now where the game has to start looking after itself, and City, again, being very careful about what I say, they seem to be just wanting to disrupt the Premier League rather than enhance the Premier League. So, honestly, I hope the book gets thrown at them at every turn. And I hope Guardiola gets shown up for the nonsense that he's come out with. You know, the arrogance of the way that they've gone about all of this and the way that they've looked down the camera and accused everybody else of just wanting to hound and harass them. I need to see somebody held to account in this. I just need to. Because in the world right now, there's just so much shit that people are getting away with. And it feels like, does good and bad even matter anymore? Is right and wrong even important anymore? Something needs to happen here that helps put football back in the right direction. Craig, if you were to put a price tag on Gravenberch, what would it be, even though he's unsellable? 90 to 120 million would be what I'd be looking at. So look, I've got loads of news to fly through here, so I'm going to start working through it before I forget. So, Mohamed Salah, another new record for the great man. He's now the only player in Premier League history to have 10 goal contributions within a single month in 3 different months, and credit LFC Transfer Room for this. December 2018, he had 10 goals and assists. December 2024, he had 14 goals and assists, and now February 2025, he has 10 goals and assists. So another record for the great man. If you want a stat, up to Joe reckon Liverpool have a 99% chance to win the Premier League. You look at the bookies, the ones that haven't paid out, and the odds are 1 to 50 on, 1 to 66 on, and I think 40 to 1 for Arsenal to win it. So if you're still one of those people that aren't that we're definitely winning it, stick a fiver on Arsenal, and if the worst comes to the worst, you'll make a nice few quid, but it won't. Now, goals and assists from midfield. We've been asking for more of them. Well, Anfield Edition, again, credit to them for this post, said 21 goals and assists between them this season for Maka and Szoboszlai. It's brilliant. It was so refreshing last night to see both our midfielders on the score sheet in a game. It really helps when your midfielders can take that pressure off. Breaking news coming out of Bayern from Christian Falk said Bayern Munich has withdrawn its contract offer for Joshua Kimmich. I don't know what's gone on there, but there was an offer put to him during the week. Now it's been withdrawn. David Ornstein. Let's talk about David Ornstein and the situation with Mohamed Salah and Virgil van Dijk. Sorry, I'm not ignoring the chat, by the way. Apologies. I just want to make sure I get through the news for the people who are coming in. So, David Ornstein said, talks continue, and there has long been optimism around Anfield in regard to Salah and Virgil van Dijk. I'm not aware of agreements being reached, but both players seem keen to stay. Plus, as far as we know, Liverpool absolutely want to keep both. Now, he goes on to speak a bit more about the situation. He said, as they do want to keep Trent Alexander-Arnold, but we all know his situation is different. He is younger and has Real Madrid knocking at his door. The consensus around the industry is that maybe Salah and Van Dijk will renew, but Trent Alexander-Arnold will go. Nothing appears to be set in stone yet. Credit Anfield sector again for those quotes for David Ornstein. We've already done the Man City story. Then Virgil van Dijk, speaking about the aims this season, said we want to win the Premier League. We want to win as much as possible this season. Myself and Mo speak a lot about certain things with the team, and our main objective is to win the league, to do everything in our power to do that. I think so far so good, just keep going. Then we went in to discuss Darwin. Let's talk about Darwin here for a second. The representatives of Darwin Nunez have apparently held talks with Barcelona. The Spanish club are looking for a long-term replacement for Robert Lewandowski. And also, in tonight's late night video, we'll be talking a little bit about interest from Atletico Madrid in Darwin Nunez. So, there's some of the latest news around the club, but surely they're not that mad, are they? Barcelona, Darwin? What are you saying? Good fit? Bad fit? I think I could see him at Atletico Madrid if they move Griezmann on. You could have him and Julian Alvarez, but Barcelona, well, they wouldn't have the money, surely, to pay what it would take for Darwin. Craig, would you be interested in Kimmich? Yes, in the right circumstances. So, hear me out. What we know at the minute is that Trent may leave. So, if you could bring in Joshua Kimmich, who could fill in a few positions on a reasonable wage, I wouldn't be against it for a couple of seasons. But it wouldn't be top of my list of priorities. And then if Endo stays, I would say even further, no, I wouldn't have an interest. But if Endo moves on and we have space for a versatile player, I wouldn't be against it for the right numbers. But it certainly wouldn't be anywhere near the top of my wish list. Darwin gets 40 goals in La Liga. Why, the net's bigger in La Liga? Sorry, I couldn't help. Look, I could see Darwin at Atletico Madrid. I think he would really suit Atletico Madrid. And I think Cholo Simeone would love him. I think the Atleti fans would love him. And you know, sometimes you can visualise a player in a kit. I can see him in an Atleti kit, but I can't see him in a Barcelona kit. But then again, that means nothing, you know. That's just me talking out my backside. Mark said, Darwin is a good player. If he could just add goals, or more of them, would be really decent. He's just not Liverpool number 9 material. Yeah, look, we're going to have to accept Darwin's moving on in the summer. There's no redemption arc here at this point. It is, the manager's made up his mind. And Darwin will knuckle down, I'm sure, and do his best when called upon for the remainder of the season. But yeah, that race is run. Lewis Parker said Champions League as well would be a dream. Oh, dude, it would. It would. It would be amazing. Like, I'm just thinking about what it would be like in our live show in Liverpool if we've won the league and we're there on the Wednesday afterwards before the Champions League final talking about the Reds having a Champions League final as well. I dare not be that greedy at the minute, but I'd be a liar if I said I'm not looking at it. So really quickly, tomorrow and Saturday there will be no live streams. It's time for us to get a bit of a breather in while the Reds have no game this weekend. So there'll be 2 videos coming out tomorrow. One of them will be my predictions for all of the last 16 ties in the Champions League. And the other one is going to be a news video. So there'll be nothing out on Saturday, but Friday and Saturday, no live content. I'm going to an evening with Henrik Larsson and the Helix in Dublin on Saturday. So I defo won't be streaming Saturday night. My friend had tickets to that and he asked me to want to come along with him. So gonna go to that on Saturday. But just so you know, nothing's wrong in case you don't see me for a couple of days or anything like that. Just want to get a breather in before the really busy end to the season. Would you consider a loan move for Darwin to a club like Atletico? No. No loans. Need the money. Got to bring him in. Got to get him off the wage books. Got to get the money in the door. So, you know, there won't be a shortage of interest. You might have Milan back looking at him. You're certainly going to have clubs in Saudi looking at him. Now we know of a few clubs in Spain with interest. I guess it's just a matter of what works for everybody involved. So on Kluivert, I've seen his name come up in the chat, and he does have a worldie in him. Can anybody see a world where that's a deal Liverpool look at or a good fit? I have to be honest and say, I don't know enough about young Kluivert. I didn't follow him when he was in Italy. I haven't followed him even breaking through in the Eredivisie. And I've only seen flashes of him at Bournemouth. So I am certainly not qualified to give you an answer on it. But what do you guys think? Would you take him at Liverpool? Let me ask that in a poll really quickly. It feels so old for me, by the way. Or I feel so old because I remember his dad, like. So I'm going to just ask, is he worth a look in the poll in the background? We'll leave that running. Craig, can you do a video pricing every current Liverpool player? I don't think it would be one that people would watch, mate. Because that would be pricing them up like I'm looking to move them out the door. And to be honest with you, I don't want to even attempt to put a price on some of them. Like someone asked me earlier on about Ryan Gravenberch. I don't really want to be putting a price on him either. Could you see a world where Liverpool and Atletico swap deals for Darwin and Julian Alvarez? No. They're going to want to build and keep Alvarez there. It will probably be Antoine Griezmann that will move on to, I don't know, La Liga, or excuse me, MLS or something like that. So they're probably going to want to keep both of those lads there. What made me start supporting Liverpool? I've said this story a few times on the channel. It was the last game of the season where Arsenal won the league title in 1990, 89-90 season, where Arsenal came to Anfield and beat us 2-0. That was the thing that made me start supporting Liverpool, which I know sounds really counterintuitive because we lost, but I was a young 8-year-old kid watching it on the TV, and my parents were, having a Chinese and some drinks with their friends, and I was just this kid who'd only start getting into football really in the last year or so, and I just seen Anfield that night and I was spellbound, and I can't explain it to you. I've no older brothers or sisters. In fact, I've no siblings. My dad wasn't really a big football fan, so how I ended up just stumbling into Liverpool was that night, which was weird because usually you're talking about seeing somebody lifting a trophy or a cup final or whatever, but no, genuinely it was just me being spellbound by the colours of Anfield, the noise, and yeah, I was hooked. So I was only saying this to Connor earlier on. Here we are now, and Saturday's the 1st of March, and we still have no contract sorted out. Now, I don't want to be a downer again because I've tried so hard to be upbeat and positive because I want to celebrate what we're doing. But, I mean, the wiggle room is running out here. We've got to get these contracts sorted. I think we're going to have to, at the very least, prioritise Mohamed Salah and Virgil because it seems like Trent is either out of our control or he's already decided. But we got to get them two done. It just has to be done. There's no excuses anymore. We're running out of time. Get it done. Just get it done. Pay them. Is it annoying anybody else as much as it annoys me? Like, it just feels so stupid. Like, that's the only word I can use. Just so stupid that it's not being done yet. Like, every day or week that goes by, I feel like the prices are going up because they're performing well. Salah's continuing to break records. It just seems so counterintuitive to me, the whole thing. Disrespectful, said Tanya of our greatest. Alan said yes. Jason Sanders Fox said yes. Adam Reynolds said yes. It's annoying because we probably won't hear anything about it until the end of the season. I think that would be insanity. For Arne Slot to break up at the end of the season, to head off into the summer and not have those contracts sorted out, or for the fans inside Anfield at the end of the season to not have the answer to know if they're saying goodbye for good or if they're looking forward to the lads coming back. I mean, the fact that Virgil's our captain and these aren't two normal players. We're talking about a generational talent in both of them. One's the club captain who's going to lift trophies at the end of this season, and the other one is smashing records to beat the band. It just doesn't make any sense to me because we've done nothing else. Done nothing else all season. Whatever Richard Hughes is doing, I just don't understand it because he's had more than enough time to sort this out. It's piss taken at this point. Again, want to just bring this up real quick. A reminder, if you want to come and see us at an all-ages event, May 28th, you can get your tickets with the link pinned to the top of the chat or in the description. And thank you to everyone that's already bought their tickets. We're looking forward to a good show. Stuart said, Craig, they are sorted out. It's Trent. He signed in January for Madrid. I swear to God, mate, I'm going to say this now so people can hold me to account for it. If it comes out that that's done and dusted since then, I don't think I'm going to be able to hold back in what I say about the situation because I already feel manipulated as a Liverpool fan by Trent's situation. And if it comes out that this was already sorted out a long time ago, I think you're going to see a very, very, very strong reaction from Liverpool fans on this. And I know that people inside the football world live in this bubble where they think if we win a double or something and Trent heads off, that everybody's going to be, waving him off at John Lennon Airport and wishing him the best with a pat on the back. That is not going to happen. That is not the way football fans are wired. It will feel like Trent's manipulated the whole situation to get out on a free without having to deal with the consequences throughout the season. I'm telling you now that that's going to be the... There will be some people who wish him well. There will. But I'm telling you right now, there are going to be a backlash. And people are going to feel manipulated. And we're going to feel like we're treated like idiots again. Chris said, have you seen Jones' Instagram post with Gordon? Nope. I haven't. But I'd be very surprised if there's any legs in Anthony Gordon to Liverpool again after him signing that new deal. Jack said, the most annoying thing too is there's no upgrades on these players. I agree. There isn't. Even with a blank checkbook, Jack, there's no way to go out there and get another Virgil van Dijk or Mohamed Salah. Timothy said, Craig, please, we don't need Osimhen at Liverpool. I agree, Timothy. He's not good enough for Liverpool for me. Not by a long way. And I don't think he's a good fit for our system either. So, I want to ask you guys about Trent. So, Clivert's an interesting one, by the way. It's 50-50 on that poll, pretty much. 51-49. One sec, I'm just writing this out. Okay, so I want to get to the bottom of this Trent situation. Okay, that's one. One sec. I've got to make all this fit in as well. Apologies. Okay. That one. That one. Okay. Sorry, I just can't talk and type. Right, so if Trent announces that he's off to Madrid, how will you feel? And I've put in 4 options. 1 second. I've put in 4 options. I'll wish him well, no hard feelings. Angry, but I'll wish him well. Furious or not bothered. Let me know. Vote away on that. And I'm going to leave this up for a good while because I want as many people as possible to let me know. So if Trent announces he's off to Madrid, how will you feel about it? Again, the 4 options. I'll wish him well, no hard feelings. Angry, but wish him well. Furious or not bothered. And also, have you seen these stories about Vinicius Jr. and Saudi and a 200 million quid move? Surely he can't ruin his career at his age and head off to Saudi. Surely he can't. That would be... I'm sure Real Madrid would be thankful for the money, but you couldn't be running off to Saudi at this point in your career. Izan said, I don't like the way it's handled, but I'd wish him the best. Yeah, I'm far more of a shithouse, to be honest with you, mate. You know the way I always say about respect being given and earned? It just feels like if he had come up front and said it early that he wanted to go, I feel like I'd have been personally far calmer about it. But if he does it now after being stum and giving it all this, I'm not in the camp of not bothered anyway. I'm definitely in the camp of furious. But I wouldn't be going in on him too much on it. But it would definitely taint my view of him moving forward. It would. Heck said, Liverpool's not a stepping stone. Don't lie about wanting to captain the team, then leave first chance you got. Angry but wishing well, said Moona. Hard to blame Trent if ownership won't pay him. I don't think that's the case, though. I really don't think that's the case. I feel like I could say very confidently that Liverpool will be giving Trent something of about $250 a week if he was willing to stay. He was already on a very, very high wage at about 180. I just couldn't see a world where he doesn't get at least 250, which should be enough to keep you at your boyhood club, in my opinion. He could have got the club some money if he really cared about us, but of course he's not obliged to. Well, to be fair, there was an offer that came in January and Liverpool rejected it out of hand. So I can understand that from the club's perspective as well. Nav said he's given us so much and he's not spoken about this, mostly down to the owners. I think everybody's acknowledged what Trent's given. I mean, he's got murals in the city of Liverpool. He's vice captain of the club. He's got documentaries made about him being the local boy. To say that he hasn't been appreciated or anything, I think is just foolish. And to whitewash him or absolve him of any responsibility, I also feel is foolish if he does go. The only reason I feel bad about it is because of the dragging it out part. As I said, if he had come out in January and said he'd made his mind up, I wouldn't have been arsed. I'd have been enjoying the last 6 months of him. I would have had questions about whether I trust him in the big games or not. But I certainly wouldn't feel as annoyed as I'm going to feel if he worms his way out this way and has done this. It's this thing that will really stick in my head if Trent heads off. Because what was that? Recent interview with Jamie Redknapp, VVD. Redknapp asked about how the contract negotiations were going. He didn't give anything away, but VVD smiled. I think Virgil and Mo stay. For what it's worth, I think they both stay. And I hope Trent stays. I still do. Like, whatever I say about Trent, be under no disillusionment, I want him to stay. Without any hesitation. I want Trent to stay at Liverpool because I think we are a better team with Trent in it. And, you know, whatever else I say, that much I want to make really clear. Priority number one is to have Trent stay. And I'm not even flinching on that. We are a better team with Trent here. Wael Gali said, Craig, do you think Trent fails or succeeds at Madrid? 100% absolutely bona fide fail. Fail. I'm not saying he won't have some good moments, but I'm telling you it'll get ugly over there for him. And I think most people feel that way about the situation, which is weird because the player will back themselves. And to do that at a club like Real Madrid, to say and back yourself and go to a club like Real Madrid, you know, that takes balls. It does. It takes balls. But I just don't think he's good enough to do what they will want from him. And I think it will get messy over there for him. I do. And it doesn't... Most importantly, they don't feel like a good fit for Trent. Because Trent's a humble... I know people may disagree, but I find Trent to be a very humble, very introverted fella. Not a flashy guy, not, you know... Not a Billy Big Bollocks. I don't see the fit there for Trent. It just doesn't feel like a natural fit for Trent to go to Real Madrid. It doesn't strike me as suited to his personality. In a hypothetical world where Trent ends up in Madrid and fails, would you take him back at Liverpool? No, because the only way that most likely happens, because he'll sign a 5 or 6 year deal, would be for us paying a transfer fee. And there's absolutely no way that I could stomach a player leaving the club for free and being bought back by the club. I couldn't. I could not. No, I couldn't sit through that. I'd lose me shit, honestly. If it was on a free, it depends. It kind of depends where we're at in our development under Arna and who's at the club. Not a flashy guy. Well, what I mean is, I don't see pictures of Trent out in nightclubs all the time. I don't see him. He just doesn't strike me as a flashy guy. You know, I'm not saying he doesn't show that he has some wealth at times. I mean, fuck, we all would in that position, but I don't know. He just strikes me as a fella that's a humble guy. But, you know, maybe I'm reading them all wrong. As an introverted guy, not like others who go over there for the limelight. But look, again, that's just one man's opinion. Timothy said, Craig, you did a great job, thank you. I think Trent's only after the money he would get at Madrid. See, the whole money thing I find mad, right? As a normal working class fella, like most of you guys and girls watching, when you hear people squabbling over £250,000 a week or £300,000 a week, it makes me feel sick, because you're going to lose some of the difference in tax anyway. And 250 grand a week or so to stay at your boyhood club that you've claimed you wanted the captain, I don't know, it feels mad, because we couldn't even fathom these things. Like 50 grand a year is a very, very good salary. A year. I can't think in those terms of 250, 300 grand a week. So, again, I should also say that my perception of Trent is as somebody who's never known him on a personal level. You know, I'm sure there are people around the city of Liverpool that know Trent's situation incredibly better than I do. I just look at him and I always feel like he's a bit of a mammy's boy. He's introverted, somewhat quiet. That's just my read on him. But, you know, I could have him all wrong. Guillermo said, this season he didn't act as a vice captain. We didn't see him at all and heard from him. He's nowhere to be seen. Now that I agree with. I think, Guillermo, that's fair. I would have liked a bit more from him, you know, and it sticks in my throat as well that we haven't even heard the I want to be here out of him once. You know, to go from, as many people have pointed out, that interview about I want to captain this club, to now not even wanting to stay. If that happens, yeah, I get that. I guess maybe I'm looking at this wrong, though. Like, if I'm Michael Edwards or Richard Hughes or FSG, I might look at the situation and go, right, well, Trent will get a signing on bonus if he stays, which he would. He'll get, let's say, 250 grand a week, which is what? £12.5 million a year. Am I right with my maths on that one? I think my maths is right in that, is it? 250 grand a week. It's about £12.5 million a year, I think. And if you did that over 5 years, you're talking about what? 25, 50, 62.5 million plus the signing on fee. So you're probably looking at a total package of about 70, 75 million for 5 years. Liverpool may think that there's better value to be had out there in a position that they may just take solidity in. You know, you could probably get a good defensive right back to play for 60, 70 grand a week. So maybe Richard Hughes and Edwards will look at that and think, yeah, there's better value to be had here. And if you're looking at the squad wage bill and management as a whole, it's just, what's really frustrating is 50 million there from Trent would have been £50 million profit because he came to the academy. Paolo said, I think Trent is more expandable in Slot's system. I think it's a really good shout, my man. I think that's probably a fair take. I certainly wouldn't say he's an integral part. Now, look, I did look at a compilation today of a lot of his passes into that right channel, and, you know, it has been very good. But what I will also say is, for all the passes we've seen Trent put into that right channel, I'm starting to see Ibrahima Konate develop a great eye for a ball, whether long or through the lines. Van Dijk can certainly do the same. So I don't know if we'd lose as much, maybe, in that regard. Certainly, priorities for me, Virgil, Mo, and then Trent in that order. So yeah, I think of the three, if we had to lose one, Trent's probably the one most people are going for. Pro said, my heart tells me he'll stay, my mind says he's gone. For me, my mind tells me 100% he's gone. But I hope I'm wrong. You know, when you've got journalists saying that they believe within the industry that the most likely outcome is that he goes, and this is from David Ornstein, who has usually gotten some good reads on players' thought processes. Not always right, no journalist will always be right, but I would say that he has a channel of communication to Trent's camp. I would make an educated guess at that. And when you've got people in the city feel like it, you've got journalists feeling like it, it doesn't really scream that there's any confidence that this situation gets resolved in a way that he stays. But look, I think we spent too long on Trent. What subject do you want us to move on to next, ladies and gents? What do we want to talk about next? Shazada said, Craig, it's not about money, it's about being valued. How on earth do you let him get to this final year without giving him another contract? He's been offered contracts 3 times that I'm aware of. So don't let this situation be manipulated into you thinking the club haven't tried to keep Trent. I can tell you, and look, you know I've no desire to pander to FSG. You know, I called him out with any opportunity. But I'm telling you now, this hasn't been a situation where Liverpool have not wanted to give him a new deal or not valued him. This has been delayed from his side for at least over a year. And I can tell you that without any hesitation. Liverpool wanted to be respectful after Jurgen left, and they were, and then the situation's dragged on. So I can promise you the contract offers were there, and it was down to Trent that it was dragged out this long. Now, I'm not saying the club haven't taken their eye off the ball a bit as well. They have. But they haven't not tried to keep him. So when you talk about respect, I feel like, again, that's a two-way street, and I'm not seeing that from Trent. Other than this media narrative of him staying silent as being respectful to the club. I disagree. Because when I see him staying silent, I see the narrative being seized upon by everybody else and the club looking weak. And I don't like my club being made out to look weak in the media and be bullied by Real Madrid or the Spanish press. I don't like that one bit. Can we talk about how the lack of funding for the Liverpool women's team cost Matt Beard his job? I couldn't give a shite about the Liverpool women's team. I can't be any more blunt about it than that. I have no interest, zero, in the results, what they're doing, anything. No interest. I'm sorry to be so callous about it, but I couldn't give a shite. Honestly, it's not something that will ever interest me. It's not something that I'll ever be a fan of. It's just not my cup of tea. So, and I did hear that Matt Beard lost his job today, all right. And, you know, it's always sad when any manager loses their job, but I'm not arsed about women's football. I really amn't. Craig, when we win the league, do you think we'll be able to defend it next year? Well, that's the key for me. That's the big question. If you do that, you're in a completely different world of achievement. You know, to defend it would be incredible. And let me say, it's not that about women's football, it's not that I don't like women's sport. I'm a huge advocate and fan of women's sport. I will watch women's tennis, women's MMA, women's boxing, women's darts. Love it. There's just something physiologically about the difference in women's football and men's football that I don't think transfers like other sports do. And that, I'll always give you my honest opinion. And I'm a huge advocate for women's sports. Katie Taylor's my hero. But I just don't see it being transferable to a same standard or even ballpark of standard, because I think genuinely there's too many physiological differences, and men's football has a lot more explosiveness in it, and I just don't like it. I can't lie about it. I don't like it. I've nothing against ladies football. I don't want to see them brought down. I don't want to see them undermined or anything like that. I'm just being honest with you. I have no time for it. It's just not my cup of tea. Trent's performances have gone downhill since the talk started. It's all rushing his head and it's evidential, said Tyler. I thought against Newcastle Trent played well, if I'm being honest with you. Women's tennis is great. Do you know, it is. And women's boxing's brilliant, and women's darts is brilliant, and women's track and field is brilliant. Loads of sports I will watch. But, you know, there's just too much of a difference for me between the two. Anywho, we don't need to be bogged down in this. But it is sad that Matt Beard lost his job, definitely. You know, you never want to see a Liverpool manager lose their job, because that means that things aren't going well. There was something I wanted to go through here that I'd seen in the comments. This comment from Mark I'd love to have a chat about. Stefan Bajcetic next season. What do you think? Stefan Bajcetic. Do you think he becomes a mainstay in this squad? Do you think there's an argument for not bringing in another midfielder and using Stefan? I have to say, I spoke about this, I think, the day before yesterday. And if Arne Slot turned around and says, I want to bring in Stefan Bajcetic, I want him to be that other midfielder for when Gravenberch maybe needs a rest, or I'm fine with that. You won't hear me talking about a midfielder then if that's the case. I just want to know that the manager trusts the options that he has on the bench. So at the minute, whatever you and I think, it feels like he's not trusting Chiesa. It feels like he's not trusting Elliott. And that's just wasted space on the bench. Regardless of how much of a fan I am of Harvey Elliott, or you might be a Federico Chiesa, it's useless if the manager doesn't trust them. And we've seen this season that those two lads have not got much game time. So I don't want that to happen again. If Bajcetic is coming in, then I want him to be somebody the manager trusts. Love to see him back. He started off great, looked very tenacious, a player that loved the tackle, said GMAC. Have you interest in Bowen, Craig? Look, I'd love Jared Bowen, but he's getting on in years, and he signed a 6-year deal, I think, at West Ham. And isn't he going out with Danny Dyer's daughter? Sorry, not his missus. Jesus, Craig. Sorry, Danny. I meant his daughter. Looks like an Arna player. I think he does as well. And I'd be fine about it. Honestly, if you went into next season and you said the options there are Soboslai, Jones, Gravenberch, McAllister, Bajcetic, I'd be fine. You know, you might need Endo maybe as well, but yeah, I'd be fine with it. I just would want to hear from the manager that that's the thought process, you know, that we're not getting a midfielder because the money isn't there, but that genuinely he wants to go with Bajcetic. Mukarab said, Craig, what are your thoughts on this? Trent was born 25, 30 years too late. Look, I think if Trent was born 25, 30 years ago, you know, the levels of fitness and that in football would have been different. The trajectory of the football would have been different because it would have been a heavier, older-fashioned ball. So many things I just feel are just non-transferable. So, Tony Hoare said, I'd rather Mbeumo than Bowen. I would be all for Brian Mbeumo. Honestly, I think Brian Mbeumo is tailor-made for our system. And he would be right up there in my high list of targets if Mo departed. Now, of course, Mo, we want to stay. But honestly, I'd be all over Brian Mbeumo if we had the chance. So, we've now gone over 1,000 votes. And we asked, if Trent announces he's off to Madrid, how would you feel? And the options were wish him well, no hard feelings, angry but wish him well, furious, or not bothered. And the winning one, which speaks to what a good group of people you guys are, to be fair, said that I would be angry but I'd wish him well. That was top of it with 33%. Next was not bothered with 25%, wish him well, no hard feelings 21%, and furious 20%. Thank you to everyone that voted. And I had a feeling that would be the one you go for because, as I said, you're good people. And, you know, you wouldn't carry that toxicity across, which exactly speaks to the caliber of people you guys are. So thank you for voting on that one. I would be, for what it's worth, I would be furious. I'm not going to lie. I'm that petty that I'd be in the furious camp. If it happened in January and he'd announced it, I'd be in the wish him well, no hard feelings camp. But if it happens now, I'm very much in the furious camp. What about Mateta? Oh, I'm not there yet with Mateta. By the way, we spoke about Darwin Nunez and Atletico Madrid. Mateta is another name on Atletico Madrid's list that they're looking at apparently. I don't know. I'm not there at Mateta. He's having a good season, and Glasner's certainly getting the best out of him at Palace, but not for us. Not for me again. I just have too many concerns about it. Mario, appreciate your kind words in the chat, mate. Thank you. Pro said, I've been following him since he joined Las Palmas. He's a baller and would fit nicely into the slot system. I think he's brilliant. I've always, as soon as I seen Stefan Bajcetic out there in the first team, like trainee only, I just felt like he's got something about him. He's a player that can make it at Liverpool. And I've had belief in him since in the same. I've absolute belief in trainee only as well. I just don't know when his time is going to come, whether it be another year or so, but he's another footballer that I think we've every right to be excited about in the future. Again, and Rio as well. Another great young talent. The problem then comes, though, is when do you draw the line under promising talent versus are we holding on too long and just continuous loans? So there's going to be some tough calls around the likes of Tyler Morton. There's going to be some tough calls around some other loanees as well. Then you've got youngsters like Jaden Dans. You've got players like young Kumas, Rio coming through, Trent Doherty. What do you do there? Like, you have to have a balance between staying competitive in Europe and in the Premier League and bringing through these guys. I don't want Ryan Kent situations where you've got loanees going out for 3, 4, 5 years. Mark said, Craig, are you surprised about the chat of Lucho leaving? No. I'm not. I think, again, Liverpool will look at this and think we've got Cody Gakpo. We have Lucho on a very decent wage with 2 more years to go on his contract. I think he's 28 or heading for 28. And I think if the right offer came in, Liverpool would look to bring in another exciting wide forward. And I wouldn't be against it. I wouldn't be actively looking to move Luis Diaz on, but if Luis Diaz wants to go and there's an offer that suits, off you pop. But as I said, I wouldn't be looking to sell him. I think Luis Diaz and Cody Gakpo gives us brilliant balance and options on the left. Mateta looks much more like an Atletico Madrid type player than Liverpool, said Bruno. Yep, I would envision another Christian Benteke scenario of a good, powerful, strong forward who can score some great goals, but I just don't know if he'd have consistency, again, of end product. I'm convincing myself, by the way, that we're signing Cunha. In my mind, I'm convinced it's Cunha. But I got to be really blunt about this. I don't know anything you don't know on that. Just my feeling is he strikes me as the type of player Liverpool would look at, and I don't think that the release clause would be too off-putting for Liverpool either. And it was a David Lynch piece as well that made me really sit up and think, maybe, because I can see the role. Between David Lynch's piece and others saying to me he's a Firmino type role, if that's what Arne wants, if he wants a centre forward who can come and link up play, can create pockets of space, can chip in with a few but maybe not be prolific, I can see a world where he would make sense. Any news on Isak? Yes, there's been a few stories about Isak. And all I will say is every one of the stories said that it's genuine interest that Liverpool have in Alexander Isak. But the problem comes not with our interest or you or I thinking he's good enough. It's with that price tag. You cannot go and spend £150 million on a forward who has injury concerns. You know, if you're bringing in a £150 million footballer, they best be bulletproof. You know, nobody has any doubts about the man's calibre, his goal scoring ability, but you need him there. Like, we know going into a new season more often than not, Salah's going to be bulletproof. Virgil's going to be pretty much bulletproof, other than that big injury that Pickford made sure he had. But with Isak, you couldn't carry him and Jota as an example. And then even if you were to say him and Jayden Danns, you're still thinking, well, as Danns past all his back injuries and those little niggles, it just feels like there would need to be too much movement on the price. And I just don't see it being us as much as I'd like him. But the interest is real, that much I can say, and he's open to the idea of a move, especially if Newcastle don't make the Champions League. Like, I'd want to be getting him for about 90 to feel comfortable as a Liverpool fan. You know, others might go, well, it doesn't matter what we pay from Craig, it's not your money. And that's fair enough as well, but it would have a knock-on effect to the availability of money for other positions. Would I take Sesko? Yes, I would. Sesko, Isak, Cunha, they're my three. And if any one of those three came in, I wouldn't be too displeased at all. And you know, I'd be happy if any of those three came in. If I had to make a guess right now, I would say Dean Huijsen, Jarell Haddo, Matheus Cunha, and a replacement for Trent, but I don't know who. That would be my guess at a window that would see with Liverpool's incomings. Van Dijk to stay, Salah to stay, a replacement for Trent, name I don't have for you, Haddo at left back, Huijsen at centre back, and Cunha would be my guess. How much for Cunha? His release clause is either 62.5 million or 67.5 million. I can't remember off the top of my head which one it is, but it's one of those two. Lauren, I'm sorry to hear you've been struggling with your health, mate. I hope you become better soon. David said 62 million is the release clause in Cunha's contract, according to Facahes. Yeah, look, there's been plenty of coverage of it. I just couldn't remember what it was, but 62 sounds about right. Mario, again, thank you, man. Appreciate your kind words in the chat. So has anybody got any names for me at right back? And don't be throwing Frimpong in at me, because Frimpong's not a Liverpool player in the way he plays the game, the position we need. I'd be very interested to see what the club would do, because you couldn't just go into the season with Bradley. You know, if Gomez was fit and stayed, you've an option at right back there. Kwanzaa, as we've seen, and an emergency as well. But I would still think you'd need to go into the market there for another option. Yeah, Wesley's an interesting show. I just don't know anything about that guy, except that he plays for Flamengo in Brazil. Martinez of Girona. The fact that he's basically owned by Manchester City's brand of clubs, I don't know if that would be a barrier to a potential deal or not. And again, I don't know enough about him either. I can honestly say I've not looked at right backs because I've been kind of like burying my head in the sand on the Trent situation, and I haven't been able to bring myself to really look into the right back world. Kimmich is an interesting one, but like Kimmich will be a versatile player that can fill in a few positions. I could see a world where Kimmich on a 3-year deal makes some sense, but I don't know. Bradley would be my number one. He'd be the first choice right back for me in this scenario, as long as he can make sure that his fitness is going to be tickety-boo, but I still think we need cover. And a bit more experience cover. I'd want to bring in somebody 26, 27 as the other right back, something around that age bracket. What else we got? Tariq Lamptey, 1 year left. Again, he's had his fair share of injuries, has he not? Livramento. Yeah, look, do you know what? Both Newcastle's fullbacks impressed me. Whether you talk about Lewis Hall on the left-hand side or Livramento, they both impressed me. I thought Lewis Hall was particularly good, and I thought that he did a good job with Mohamed Salah. You know, you're never going to keep Mo very, very quiet because Mo's just that damn good, but certainly Newcastle's two fullbacks caught my eye. I know they signed Lewis Hall, I think, wasn't it, from Chelsea, but he looks a really good player. Has there been any update in Trent's situation? Other than David Ornstein today, and I'll read it out to you again now, just so you get a flavour of where we are. He said, the club do wish to keep Trent, but we all know his situation is different. He's younger and has Real Madrid knocking on his door. The consensus around the industry is that maybe Salah and Van Dijk will renew while Trent will go, but nothing appears to be set in stone. So, you know, I don't know one person in the journalistic world or who would be aware enough of this situation that has any inkling that Trent's staying. Everything seems to point to a negative outcome. But again, while it isn't signed, or we don't know if it's being signed, you know, every eventuality is on the table. You would hope he gets last minute jitters and thinks and realises, like Stevie G did, that hang on a minute, you know, this is special. Because it is. And that's I think what frustrates us. It's such a special club at a special time with a special set of fans that's going through a moment with a new manager, you know, with a bright future. That's why it's things like, you can talk to the times when Michael Owen went and when Stephen McManaman went, or even when Stevie G was looking at going. Liverpool weren't what they are now, and that's what makes this all the more strange for me, because Steven Gerrard would have killed to have had these opportunities and the squad and team that have done what this group are doing. And to see Trent have all of this and then maybe still want to move, it just feels surreal in a way. Would I say hello to your mum, Gillian? Of course, Gillian. How are we? I hope that you're well and enjoy the painting. Biggie Mall said, I just don't see Trent as a Real Madrid player. Am I mad? Well, I think you're right about it ending up in tears. I don't think we'll see it go 3 months before he starts getting shit in the media over there. Joe said, Craig, fairly new fan, 2022. I know our players, but still learning about the others. One kid I like is that bulky one on Fulham. His strength and speed, I think he's a winger. I don't know which one you're on about. If you're on about their left back, Anthony Robinson, he'd be too old. He's 28, I think. and you're talking about 40 million quid. I don't know if that's the guy that you're on about. Hakimi from PSG. I wouldn't want him anywhere near Liverpool for other reasons that aren't football related. Oh, Adama Traore. Oh, God, no. Jesus, no. No, Adama. God, no. No, 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 no. God, no. No, 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 no. There isn't enough remote controls for me to throw at the wall. Or, no, God, no. Jesus. Oh, no. It'd be like watching Darwin, but worse. What about bringing Nico Williams back? I mean, look, he seems settled at Forest. Does anybody feel Forest are going to miss Champions League football, by the way? I get a feeling they're having an end of season wobble and they're going to fall out of those places. Which would be a mad shame. Because I was looking at Carragher and Neville's predictions at the start of the season, and Jamie Carragher had Forest to be relegated. Now, it wasn't as funny as it sounds now, I think it was a fair shout all the way back then, because Forest were all over the place. So, to see them where they are now is testament to their manager and the players. But, you know, I'm sure Carragher got a little bit of stick for that, but it wasn't that bad back then. When he made the prediction, it was certainly not a laughable one, but to see where they are now would be nuts. Jack, where's your super chat? Ina from Forest is available on a free. Yes, sorry, I meant to have brought his name up previously, Jack. Sorry, a couple of people have mentioned his name in the chat. Yeah, what age is he? If you don't mind me asking, because I don't know off the top of my head. Would I take Jonathan David and Cunha? I don't want Jonathan David. I just don't think he's good enough. And I think my real thought process there is, if he wasn't on a free, I don't think you'd see him linked with Liverpool whatsoever. So for that reason, I'd say no. You know, I don't think he's good enough. Ain is 28. Do you know what? Yeah, then. Yeah. Because if Trent left and you have young Bradley, a 28-year-old right back for a few years, I would actually think would be a sensible play. Especially with no transfer fee involved. Yeah. That makes me, you know, if he was 25, I'd probably have said no. But at 28, with no fee, to back up a young right back, yeah, I think it wouldn't be the most ridiculous thing in the world. Because we don't need somebody for the next 8 years. If we have Bradley, we need to see how the likes of what's the dude's name we brought in from Aberdeen, Calvin Ramsey. We need to see how he develops. So yeah, 28 wouldn't be a bad shout on a free. Yeah, that works for me. But I'm not, Richard Hughes. Zach. How are you, Zach? And thank you for being with us as a member for 5 months, mate. Said Arsenal are as close to 10th as they are to us. Casper. Hope all is good with you, sir. 9 months with us as a member. And can't wait to see Stefan back next season. Yeah, I said I don't know if you were in with us, mate, about 25 minutes ago. I said that I would happily welcome him back in if Arne Slot wanted him to be the extra body in midfield. I'd have no issues with that at all. Mario said, I agree on Aina. So what do you guys think? Would you take Aina as the alternative option at right back to Conor Bradley if Trent moves on? I think most people in the chat there are saying they would. Well, so far, yes, most people are saying they would. David's only missed about 5 games his whole career. He's a workhorse. Look, again, I get you, but I just don't think he's good enough. But he scores goals. I'll say that about Jonathan David. Like, he scores goals, but I don't know. Just doesn't strike me as a Liverpool type player. Harry Said, what's your Eubank Ben prediction? Always go for the bigger guy. So I'm going to go for Chris Eubank Jr. in that fight. They are both very unlikable lads. Let me say that. I don't have much time for either of them. But I would always side with the bigger, more naturally bigger fighter there. So I'm going to go Chris Eubank Jr. If Trent leaves, I think when he goes to Madrid, he doesn't play a coming back home or call himself a Scouser, because he wouldn't be welcome. Scousers aren't snakes, nor do we like them. That's if he left, said Scouse Gamer. Well, I think he will leave, personally, mate, but, you know, it's not for me to talk about how Scousers review one of their own, because I'm not a Scouser, so it wouldn't be fair of me to put words in their mouth. Derek said yes, but Forest are trying to get him to sign a new contract. Yeah, you would have to probably declare your interest early before that happens, but it's certainly an interesting one. It's an interesting shout. Got to get Sesko if Isak doesn't come. He's in my three. Cunha, Sesko and Isak will be my top three targets for a forward. Rain said, am I crazy, or is Trent's only sniff at a Ballon d'Or going full Stevie G at Liverpool after Salah leaves? Can't see him winning with prime Mbappe at Madrid. There is no world where Bellingham, Mbappe, Vinny Jr. are at Real Madrid and Trent wins a Ballon d'Or. Not a hope. Not a chance. Bellingham will win one. Mbappe will win a couple. Look, I don't care if Trent plays till he's 100. He's never winning a Ballon d'Or. He's not good enough to win a Ballon d'Or at Liverpool or elsewhere. Just isn't. And I feel very comfortable in saying that. Even if he signs with us for the next 6-7 years, I just don't think he's good enough to win a Ballon d'Or. I think that was one of the more delusional things I've heard him say. Yeah, just no. Don't think he's good enough. What day do you think the championship parade is? So, off the top of my head, I'm thinking May 26th. But if Liverpool have the Champions League final, if we were lucky enough to make it to Munich, then you'd probably postpone it till the day or two after that. So, if we're out of the Champions League by the time the final comes around, I'd imagine it'll be May 26th. But if we make it to the Champions League final, you never know. Because I can't imagine they'd want that parade and all before the Champions League final, because they'd want to keep the lads focused. So I would imagine that'll come up the next Sunday then after that. What a time that would be, though. Whew. More City allegations. Why aren't I surprised? I know. I'm going to cover them in detail again in the late night video, which I'm going to record in a few minutes. And we've hurled a few little stories back as well for the late night video. So we're going to be talking about Darwin, the lap, going to be looking at Liverpool's run in, we're going to be speaking about Manchester City. So yeah, all that to come in the late night roundup. Whoever wins the Champions League will decide the Ballon d'Or this year. I don't think that's necessarily true, because let's say Liverpool got knocked out in the semis by Madrid. I would still argue with you that Mohamed Salah deserves that Ballon d'Or. Regardless of Madrid winning the Champions League or not, I would argue wholeheartedly that he still deserves the Ballon d'Or. Yeah, I think Liverpool get to the semis and win the Premier League, and that Ballon d'Or should be Mohamed Salah's come what may, because he'll have earned it. That's just my opinion, but look, I am biased as a Liverpool fan. Would you accept Quinton Timber from Feyenoord? Don't know enough about him. I know our manager would, but I don't know enough about him to say whether he'd be good enough or not. Right, so before I finish up for the night, and remember this is the last live stream till Sunday, couple of things. One, if you can hit that like button for me and get us up to 1,000 likes, that'll be brilliant. Secondly, where are we gone? Our live show tickets are currently on sale. You can get them with the link pinned to the top of the chat or in the description of the video. And a couple of other bits and pieces. Yes, don't forget about the Anfield Agenda shop as well. If you want to get yourself something Murchie. That's about as much of a sales pitch as I have for you, really. Nick Hutchinson said, Kirkes, Sulemania, Cunha, Hoyson, Imagine. Yeah. I don't know enough about Sulemania, but Cunha, Hoyson, Kirkes, I would have no issues with any of those names, mate. None. Speaking about celebrations, best one I've seen, Sergio Ramos dropping the Copa del Rey off the bus. Didn't one of our players do that? Was it Divock? Somebody dropped... Is either the Champions League trophy or the top off a trophy. Somebody at Liverpool damaged one of the trophies. I'm almost certain that happened. Yeah, I'm almost certain that happened at some point. Right, look, ladies and gents, have a great weekend. As I said, I won't see you live tomorrow and I won't see you live Saturday, but I will be back on Sunday. So tomorrow there'll be a video coming out with my predictions for the last 16 of the Champions League, who makes it through to the quarters. There will be a news video as well. But until then, have yourselves a wonderful weekend. Remember, the Reds don't play this weekend, so our next game is against Paris Saint-Germain in the Champions League next Wednesday. Thank you again for your support tonight, and drop a like for me before you head off. And yeah, have a good one. Much love. Bye-bye.